Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs of society. Welcome, all you stinkifants, all you rock dwellers, all you stinkos, all you hateful people, all you bad people out there who celebrate the United States of America and Donald Trump. You're always welcome here, and that's at the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, and joining me today as my co-host is the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, and that's George Landrith. George, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Well, it's great to be here. This is the place to be. It's like if I weren't here, I'm not sure where I'd be.
Well, George, let's start out the news with Ezekiel Emanuel. You remember that guy? That's the guy that was one of the big factors in getting us Obamacare. Well, he has some very interesting thoughts on when we should end this lockdown.
Yeah. So President Trump's talking about beginning to open things up in May, and Dr. Emanuel agrees it should be in May of next year, or maybe longer, because he says 12 to 18 months. In other words, it could. That's. By then, we would be glad to be a third world country. I mean, let's be honest. You can't shut down the economy and have nobody doing anything for 18 months and hope to still be a serious nation. We will have devolved into Mad Max, the post-apocalyptic kind of, where you have roving bands of there won't be food. These people have to be out of their freaking mind. I understand we may, for 12 months, be taking certain precautions to, stave off the coronavirus. But the idea that we would shut down the economy for 12 to 18 months, to me, qualifies you as a complete lunatic. It means that you should never be listened to for anything. You're unreliable, you have poor judgment, and you're just plain stupid on top of it. I'm sorry, you can't do that, because people have to eat, people have to be able to provide themselves with shelter, and people can say, oh, well, the government can take care of that. With what money? And for how long? You cannot simply put life on hold for a year and a half. It's beyond the pale, let's put it that way. It means, like I said, he's crazy as all get out. George, he should be institutionalized. That's how nutty that is.
This is coming from the guy who was actually the architect of Obamacare. This is the guy that says, well, I don't know about those people over 65, and maybe we could save money on health care and Medicare by maybe holding off care from anyone over 65. This is a guy that Barack Obama leaned on for medical advice. This Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, by the way, was Robert Emanuel's brother. Rahm Emanuel, the not just mayor of Chicago, but wasn't he also Barack Obama's chief of staff? Yeah. So this is where idiot Obama got his information from, ladies and gentlemen.
And today,
this guy that says that we should lock down our economy for up to 16 months. Oh, even if we get a vaccine for this thing. I mean, George, these people are nuts. Yeah. They're nuts, George.
They are. Well, and the crazy thing is just this week, Barack Obama has endorsed Joe Biden, assuring us that he was going to get the band back together. He's going to get all the best and brightest minds back together. And I'm like, oh, really? These guys? This is a clown car. Come on. Barack Obama was a disaster. And, his Twitter account was pretty tame. I got you. And if that's what you're looking for in a president, wow, he was awesome. But, talk about a clown car. This was a presidency that he was the least qualified man to ever, run for political office and win the presidency. And, and it showed from the get-go. and over and over the course of his 8-year presidencies. So for him to sit back and tell us that he's going to bring back people, we shouldn't be worried about Joe. He'll be okay because he and I have all the same friends. We're going to get the same people back involved. It's like, oh, that's going to be great. 8 more years of that.
Well, I just hope America heard that.
Yeah,
that we're going to get a lot of the same people back together again. And I hope America remembers. Remember Obamacare? We disliked it so much. We're able to not only flip the House, but murderously flip the House. Okay?
Yeah, record-setting losses for the other party. And it wasn't just in the House. It was, quite frankly, in state houses all across the country. They lost thousands of seats as a result of that. Up and down the ballot. And they should have, quite frankly. I mean, that was an awful piece of legislation. It was legislative malpractice.
George, I don't understand a lot about 5G technology. My gosh, this is my phone, a flip phone, all right? So I don't I don't understand a lot about technology. 3G, 4G, 5G, I don't know which G I'm in. Maybe I'm in G history or something like that. The COVID-19 link to 5G technology fueled by coordinated effort. What's that about?
Well, again, I suspect that has something to do with China, and I will tell you this because, one, there's no relationship between COVID and 5G. 5G is simply a cellular frequency that will be abundant enough and fast enough that we'll be able to do all kinds of things with it. Now, some of us won't care because it'll all be voluntary, but devices will be built. So it's not only faster, it certainly will give you faster internet on your phone, but the real advantage to 5G is that they'll be able to make many of the devices in your home communicate with each other. Inherently, quickly, and naturally. So, we've seen some of the smart home devices. They're kind of cool, but the point is all of this would be kind of built from the ground up that way. And you could even, it's a little bit like, your car. If you plug in a device into your car, it'll tell you what's wrong with it. You'd have the ability for your refrigerator to send you a message and say, by the way, my coils need to be dusted. I'm having a hard time making it cool. Stuff like that. I mean, it would just be, it would open up a whole new level of technology. But the idea that there are people out there literally claiming that the COVID virus is caused by 5G technology. And I'm just like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. One, we've been working on this technology for a decade. So the people who are working in the laboratories trying to perfect it and create it and so forth, then why didn't they come down with the coronavirus in the last 10 years? And then secondly, why did it spread the way it did? It spread from China to here and into Italy. There's not a lot of 5G in Italy. I mean, so my point is, it's a silly story. It doesn't make any sense at all. But the reason why I think China could be behind it is they're the main competitors. America is likely, unless we shoot ourselves in the foot, and doggone it if Barack Obama didn't for years try to do this, just hand the contracts and hand the deal of 5G to the Chinese. Now imagine if they're in charge so that every device in your home now is a back door to China. Imagine how that would be abused. So, in America, we have one of our leading chip makers is a leading candidate to be the primary, if you will, leader in this issue. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this is just China thinking, let's see if we can slow America down, make them afraid of 5G so we can slip in there. And because whoever makes 5G will dictate a lot of technology policy for the next generation. So it can't be China. If it's China, the whole world will suffer. This is not just about economics. This is about freedom. It's about privacy. It's all kinds of things. So I don't know who's behind that rumor. They're either profoundly stupid people or they're people that are profoundly cynical trying to help China.
Well, George, I don't know if I'm going to get any information about my refrigerator on my flip phone.
Yeah, maybe not.
When I hear about technology like that, George, I wonder, is it really necessary? I mean, do we need all that much information? Here we are locked down in our homes. I think we could find the dust bunnies in the
You don't think that you'd like to get an occasional email from your I don't know, your refrigerator telling you to...
Well, George, I get 100 emails a day. I literally get 100 emails a day. Okay?
Yeah, but how many from your refrigerator?
I think I'm going to put that one in the spam box or block that.
Fair enough. Well, that's why I say, for some people, 5G will only mean faster internet. But for others, it will mean certain levels of technology. An example would be like with Uber. I don't think anybody really would have assumed that the devices we have now would allow us to reduce the cost of taking a taxi so dramatically and really kind of create a whole new economy. And yet it did. Right. And so I suspect 5G will do some things that I can't even predict because I'm not, that's not I wouldn't have predicted Uber and Lyft and those kinds of things. But the point is that new technology will open up a lot of cool things that are available, like Lyft or Uber. They'll be different, of course, but we'll see.
How about a new technology? Let us go out of our home into our park, into any store, what we want. That's the kind of technology I think is going to be.
Yeah, we can use that right about now.
Yeah. Hey, George, we are up against our first break already, and you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show. That gentleman, his name is George Landrith, and he's the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And by the way, today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. We've got three great guests joining us. We'll tell you who they are right after this break.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day, and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is George Landrith. And for rebroadcasts of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Be sure to like us, friend us, as well as follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Well, George, the hallmark of our show is and has always been great guests. And once again, we will not disappoint. We've got 3 more of them joining us today on Conservative Commandos.
Indeed we do. So I thought we'd start off with Robert Zirkelbach. He is the Executive Vice President of Public Affairs for the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. That is a trade association that represents most of America's leading biopharmaceutical companies, research companies. And, you know, you and I have been listening to the news, obviously, for a long time. And generally speaking, when the mainstream media is covering the pharmaceutical companies, it's to do a hit job on them and tell them how greedy they are, how they're never doing anything for America, blah, blah, blah. And I've just heard, I've always known that's false, because I know of people who have had horrible diseases that, not long ago would have died, but because of the advances we've made in technology and in pharmaceuticals, they're alive today.
Including a gentleman who will be our second guest that we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but bottom line is, I thought it might be good to get some of the good news. You know, what are these pharmaceutical companies doing right now? And because ultimately, for us to defeat the COVID virus, we're going to have their help to do it. With either vaccines, treatments, medicines, whatever, testing procedures, you name it, we will need their help. And I think he'll supply us with some good news. And quite frankly, good news is welcome. And as you signaled, our next guest, or second guest, would be Dr. Gerard Lameiro. He is an author. He's a political analyst. He's a model forecasting expert. He's written a number of books. He's one of our I know you love having him on the show, so do I. He's always interesting. He's enthusiastic. He's positive. He sees, I think, the great promise of the country has, and that are, to be honest, that he understands the value of economics and part of our power that way. And it's one of the reasons why he wrote a book that points out how bad socialism is. But anyhow, we'll have him on. And I think, with him, we'll want to talk about getting America open for business. When will that happen? But you made a good point, and that is he has... Well, you used to have him on the radio a lot, or the show a lot. Then there's a period of time where we didn't. It wasn't because we lost interest in what he was saying. I thought he was boring. It's because he was battling, a serious cancer. And I don't know that battle is over yet. But what I do know is he's lived long past the time the doctors said he might not make it. And why is that? Because of some tremendous treatments. And he'll also give some of the credit to Donald Trump for loosening the rules to allow people who are... in dire need to try some medications that may not be fully and completely vetted, but if you're facing death, you're willing to give it a try.
Yep, and he had level 4 kidney or liver cancer, one of the others, but he was at a level 4. And last time I spoke with him a couple of weeks ago, they cannot find the cancer today.
Wow.
I mean, I was so worried about him because I so like and respect this man.
Well, yeah, we've asked our listeners and our viewers to pray for him. I remember after he kind of announced this, I remember for the next week or two, I reminded our listeners, our viewers, keep him in your prayers. He's going to need it.
And I remember him saying that people with the cancer that he had generally lived about a year. And February was the 1-year anniversary that he found out he had this. He's doing great. You'll see him. He's a picture of health. But again, he owes his life to the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah. And to some degree on Donald Trump for letting those things come to market a little faster. So anyhow, I think it'll be a great conversation with him. And then we'll conclude with your friend and mine, Rick Manning, who's one of our alumni here at at Conservative Commandos. He's the president of Americans for Limited Government. And thought we'd talk with him about this concept of precisely how, well, in Washington, there's a group of people who don't seem to care about if America gets back to work. And so the question is, why do they feel that way? And how might we convince them they should feel differently? And I think it should be an interesting conversation, but the bottom line is we've got to be prepared to get America back to work because, like we started off with Mr. Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's brother, if you think we can just be on lockdown for a full year or even longer, it seems to me you're not dealing with reality. And it's not just mental health. I'm just talking about a nation having to be able to feed and clothe and provide for itself. How about the people who are sick from coronavirus? How do we pay for hospitals and treatments if nobody's working? It's just, so anyway.
Well, there are some idiots out there, George. They really must believe on a money tree that this money just appears.
Right.
I mean,
the government will pay for it. The government will pay for it.
Mary and I were having this conversation today as we were taking a walk. It was a beautiful day, and cool, but a beautiful day. And, I mentioned to Mary, I think by the time we see the light at the end of the tunnel on this nation is going to be $30 trillion in debt, George. How does that ever get paid off? How do you ever pay off a $30 trillion debt? And give you an idea, the government takes in about $2.2 trillion a year. From all sources, $2.2 trillion a year. Now they're spending, before all this, they're spending about $4.3 trillion a year, but it only takes in 2.2. So to pay off a debt of $30 trillion, that would mean for 15 years, the government would have to continue to bring in money at the present rate, but not spend a dime for anything, not spend a dime for anything. Then it would take about 15 years to pay this debt off. It's unrealistic, George. I mean, there's got to be a cliff at the end of this. And there's got to be a cliff. I see no real end. Or an end that is going to end well.
Yeah, it's not a good ending. It's, again, it's kind of like, a Mad Max scenario. At some point, we collapse. I mean, you can't keep doing this. It's not possible. You don't have, it's often been believed that you can maintain financial health if your debt is less than your GDP. Well, guess what? We're going to blow right through that, and we're going to have some problems. And on some level, like you said, it may be manageable for a short period of time when interest rates are low, but what happens when the interest rates inch up? Then you'll have no money for anything. You'll only have money to pay you won't even be able to pay the principal down. You'll just be paying the banker. That's it. The government will exist to pay bankers. And at that point, you're bankrupt.
There are a lot of people out there, especially the young people, especially all these Bernie Sanders supporters who want a free college, free this, free that. They're the ones, George. I don't think I'm going to live to see this debt paid off, but they're the ones that are going to be responsible for paying the debt off, paying off all the free things, all the gifts, all the social programs that we have now and they went in the future. I mean, it's totally unrealistic, George. So are the expectations of people that think big government is the answer to everything. Hey, George, believe it or not, we got to take another break. Time flies when you're having fun, but it seems to happen here on Conservative Commandos. And that's who we are. We are the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is George Landrith. And on the other side, we're going to be talking with Robert Zirkelbach about the pharmaceutical industry. George and I believe it is a vital industry, and it shouldn't be demonized the way it is, especially by those on the left. And this coronavirus should tell you all you need to know about how important the pharmaceutical industry is. Don't go away. George and I will be right back with our first guest.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, thanks to the AUN TV network and, of course, the Conservative Commandos radio network, broadcast all across this great nation. And if you're not near a broadcast tower somewhere on this great across this great nation. Never fear, you always have Al Gore's amazing internet to rely upon. We truly are everywhere, with the possible exception of China and North Korea and Iran, where I don't think freedom is a big topic there. It might be for the people, but the regime doesn't like it much. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We're your co-hosts today on the Conservative Commandos. We're glad you're here. This is the place to be. I want to remind you, if you want a rebroadcast of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com. I'm really glad to introduce our next guest. I think this segment is going to be fabulously interesting, and I guarantee you're not hearing this in a lot of other places. You should be, but you're not. We have with us Robert Zirkelbach. He is the Vice President of Public Affairs at the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. And that's a trade association that represents America's leading biopharmaceutical research companies. And before he worked there, he also worked in healthcare. That's his area of expertise. But even before that, he worked up on Capitol Hill for Congressman Jim Nussle, who was part of the Republican Revolution in 1994. He was one of the leaders, I think, Gang of Seven. He was big on transparency and the importance of some of the things that he felt Congress was doing back then, and I guess we're doing it still. But but bottom line is that's Robert's pedigree, as it were. So with that, Robert, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I just wanted to get you to tell us a little about what's actually happening out in the real world, because we live in a world where, at least when I watch the news, it seems like most of the time I hear the news stories that involve pharmaceutical companies. It's always a grievance. It's always, oh, they did this wrong, this cost too much, or there's some, player out there that allegedly has done something that was, unfair, unkind, or whatever. And I don't ever hear the other side. And the fact of the matter is, this hits close to home because a very close personal friend of mine, he has a 21-year-old daughter who had a very serious form of cancer. And, a generation ago, she would be dead now. But she is alive and well. She is just undergoing the very final phases of treatment, but it's working. And the tumor is essentially gone. They're just in the last little bit to make sure it's dead and gone, and that she's not. And that's a good news story. Who did that? The answer is the same people they always, big pharma is bad. And I look now, and we have this horrible thing going on in the world with the COVID virus, and we're going to find solutions, and we're going to find tests, and we're going to find all kinds of things. And guess what? It's probably going to be big, bad pharma that digs us out. So I wanted to have a conversation that kind of, if you will, tells the other side of the story that never gets told. And it's maybe not sensational, but it is going to change lives. And so in that way, it's going to be sensational for every one of us when we can get back to normal. So tell us about what's going on.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that introduction and for having the opportunity to come on and talk to your listeners, because this is a really important topic at a very important time. And what we're seeing with this pandemic is exactly why we need to have a robust biopharmaceutical industry in the U.S. that can help tackle big challenges like this. As you alluded to in your opening, over the last decade, we've seen some of the most exciting advances in biopharmaceutical science that we've ever seen. Medicines that have come on the market in just the last 5 years would have been considered science fiction 10 years ago, where we're actually going into the human body, teaching people's body to fight cancer, to fight other terrible diseases. We're making great progress, and we're very optimistic about what the future holds. And what you're seeing right now is that the entire biopharmaceutical industry is using all of the learnings and all of the technology and all of their expertise that they've been applying to these other areas and bring it to the fight against the coronavirus. It's really been an unprecedented level of activity and mobilization and collaboration across the industry. And they're really working at this in 5 key areas. One is companies are working with other life science companies on testing. They're using their experience to figure out how can we help to develop new tests so that we know who's affected, which has been one of the biggest challenges we've had. We have a long way to go, but we've made really good progress in that area. The other thing companies are doing is they're scanning their vast libraries of existing medicines that they've been developing over the last several decades to fight other diseases and other pandemics like H1N1, SARS, MERS, Ebola, other diseases, to say what could potentially work for the coronavirus. In fact, a lot of those medicines are now being made available to patients as we speak through clinical trials that are testing all over the world, as well as with compassionate use programs to help those folks. The third area they're doing is developing new treatments, looking at using their experience, their expertise about what it takes to develop new medicines and coming up with new treatment options specifically tailored for the coronavirus. The fourth area is the vaccines. There's been a lot of conversation with vaccines. Vaccines take longer to develop. We've really shrunk the amount of time it takes from when we actually decode a virus to having potential vaccines that we can test. But that testing process needs to be very thorough and rigorous because we're actually giving it to otherwise healthy individuals. And so that right now there's already vaccines that are being tested in patients that hopefully can be available early next year. And then the fifth area is manufacturing. It's something that hasn't gotten talked about a lot in the broader conversation, but having a new treatment or a vaccine is critically important. But then you need to make sure you have volume and scale to actually be able to produce enough to give it to patients around the world. And our industry is really the only industry with the capacity to do that. And you're seeing companies that are already retrofitting their existing factories, building new ones, making massive investments to be able to manufacture these medicines at scale. And they're putting those resources at risk long before they know whether the medicines that they're developing even work. They're putting big investments, they're making big bets and and taking big risks, all with the hope that we'll be able to have something as quickly as possible to help patients.
Yeah, that's an impressive list of things they're doing, because they haven't just they're not just running down one path. They really have mobilized in every conceivable way. And that's impressive. And you mentioned the word collaboration. Normally, competitors in a marketplace don't collaborate because you have a certain expertise you've developed and you don't necessarily want to give that away through collaborating with competitors. My understanding is the industry is collaborating, though, because they see this as such a high priority. And I think that's kind of an interesting fact, because the press might lead you to believe that the only thing that matters to big business is profits, and profits are important. I don't mean to badmouth profits, because companies that are profitable don't have to lay off workers. They can grow, they can employ people, they can give them pay raises, and they continue to produce things we need. So I think profitability is important, and we make a mistake when we act like profits are bad. Right now we have some companies that aren't profitable, right? And what are they doing? They're having to lay people off, and it's just a reality. No one wants that, so I'm not bad-mouthing it, but I am kind of bad-mouthing the mainstream press when all they do is act as if people are blindly pursuing profits. And I see a pharmaceutical industry that, if you will, is not blindly, because their eyes are wide open, but they are pursuing solutions.
Yeah, I think the collaboration point is interesting, because if you talk to the scientists in our industry, they'll tell you they've never seen collaboration like you're seeing right now. You're seeing a collaboration across companies where they're actually sharing some of their clinical trial learnings in real time with other companies to expand the body of knowledge out there. They're partnering with some of the smaller, innovative biotech companies as well to try to develop either new vaccines or new treatments. You're seeing a lot of collaboration with industry and the government, which has been critically important, whether it's the CDC, the NIH, the FDA. A lot of times our companies are actually donating the medicines that are being used in clinical trials and partnerships that are being set up by government agencies. So it's really, that level of collaboration has been really important, so that we're making sure we're not that we're putting the best thinking together. Everybody's getting information in real time, and I think it's why we're able to move as quickly and efficiently as we're able to, and why we're all optimistic that we're going to be able to have new treatments that are available to patients as soon as we can.
Well, I think that's an important point, and I wish they would lead with those kinds of stories sometimes on the evening news, but instead they have other stories, I guess, that they think will draw more eyeballs. But I think sometimes good news is welcome, and that we are in a time where that's definitely the case. We're up against the clock. We've got to take a quick break. Sometimes the clock is a cruel taskmaster, but I'm glad you can stick around, because there's more to talk about, and I think you've really opened our eyes to some of the important things that are happening and some of the good news on this. But you're listening to the Conservative Commandos. You're viewing the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader, and we are coming on the Conservative Commandos radio network, broadcast all across this great nation, and on the AUN TV network. And of course, course, we are on Al Gore's Amazing Internet, TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk Radio, AMFM 24/7, you name it, we're there. Also our website, ccrshow.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear! The debt suckers are here! Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution. Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
Welcome back, the Conservative Commandos. I'm glad you stuck around. You will be glad you did too. I know this next segment is going to be every bit as good, maybe even better than the first segment, because you're going to hear things you haven't been hearing from the mainstream media. Of course, I just want to remind you, we are coming to you on the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, the AUN TV Network, and always on Al Gore's Amazing Internet. We are truly everywhere. Just remind you, if you want to rebroadcast the show to view or to listen to, just go to our website, ccrshow.com. We have been talking with just a really knowledgeable healthcare expert, Robert Zirkelbach. He is the Vice President of Public Affairs for the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. They are essentially a trade association for our nation's leading, and I would probably say the world's leading, because America is the world leader in this, so biopharmaceutical research companies. And in the first half, we talked a lot about some of the good news, how all the different things they're working on. Robert went through 5 different, if you will, main avenues of effort that are being put in. I wanted to talk a little bit about, sometimes we're told that right now this big debate about, if we should kind of have more socialized medicine. It's so important the government should provide it. I would argue it's so important that the private sector should provide it. Because I look right now and I'm just grateful that there are these large, robust, expert companies with their own set of resources and labs that can all be focused on COVID right now. And that's because of the marketplace. In third world countries where they don't have much of this, they're just hoping that we solve the problem. And that when we do, we'll send them some of the solution. But if America were gone, who would we, would we hope that the Martians figure this out for us? You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like America really, the world should be rooting for America to continue to be market-based.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate you making that comment, because I think that's really important. The reason that we're in a position, and that the biopharmaceutical industry is in a position to be able to step up and tackle coronavirus in such a robust way is because of the significant investments and learnings that they've been developing over many, many decades. And because we have a market-based healthcare system that allows companies to take risk and to make those kinds of investment. Our industry invests over $100 billion every single year in researching and developing new treatments, in developing and investing in new technologies that we can bring to all kinds of diseases. Cancer, heart disease, HIV, other debilitating diseases. And now we're turning all of those tools against this horrible disease in the coronavirus. Just to put in perspective, the entire budget of the NIH is $30 billion a year. That's not to say anything negative about the NIH. They do really important work, but we're only able to make these kinds of investments because of what the biopharmaceutical industry is doing every single year in investing and researching new treatments, new cures, new vaccines to be able to take on important public health emergencies. And it's been really fascinating to see companies take their experience and bring it towards this important public health challenge right now.
Yeah, that is a very interesting point. It almost makes me say that, I wish big pharma, as it were bigger, because, it really, to be honest, and I'm not being critical, I'm just saying the bottom line is we have the resources to develop things that they don't in other places. Sure, we had some shortage of ventilators, and that certainly wasn't the pharmaceutical industry's fault, and same thing with masks. Quite frankly, government messed that up. Government used them all in the last pandemic and never replaced them. And, under the Obama administration. And so I'm not sure I want to trust those guys to come up with all the solutions, because something as simple as replacing the stockpile of pretty simple items that you used up, they got that wrong. So, so I'm just grateful that we have people who have made it their career, their expertise, their mission in life to work on these things, and that we have a system that lets them do that. And so as a result, we see all kinds of things, and you can look around at some of the diseases that we consider now basically artifacts of history, because we have cures, we have vaccines, we have treatments for them. And as you said, and I think I've heard this from before, that we're just at the very beginning of a phase. If you were to mark the curve, we're on the beginning of the curve. It's we don't fully appreciate. In other words, we're a lot closer to a world in which they used to put leeches on people and bleed them than we are to a world where we've discovered everything that can be discovered. And I'm not, obviously there's no one that in the pharmaceutical industry that thinks leeches are a good idea. I'm just saying, if you look in the history of the world, we're closer to this backward, not fully understanding things. It's only been in the last 100 years that we've even had things like antibiotics, and so we're, my point is we've made a lot of progress, and we are on the cusp of even more progress, and I think it would be a real shame to bust out, if you will, the foundation from that and say, let's try something different. I think that the marketplace has just brought to us almost mind-numbing progress, and the funny thing is, I think it's going to accelerate.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we've seen just in the last few years the new immunotherapies to fight cancer. We're actually using the body's own immune system to fight cancer. Or there's a whole new wave of innovative cell and gene therapies, things like CAR T, where you're actually taking cells out of the human body, reprogramming them, putting them back in the body to fight cancer. Those are medicines that are just now being approved. The first wave of those are coming to the market, and scientists will tell you they've never been more optimistic about our ability to fight disease than what we're seeing right now and what's likely to happen in the coming decades. It's really a promising time for the science, and we really hope that we have a healthcare system that continues to foster those types of investments in such a promising area.
Absolutely. What would you say to somebody who says, "Oh, yeah, sure, the pharmaceutical industry will come up with cures for pharma, but they'll be for COVID and the coronavirus, et cetera, but they'll be so expensive that we won't be able to afford them anyhow. It'll just be a way for them to line their pockets and for them to be rich." Yeah, I've heard that occasionally, and again, I think that's kind of unduly pessimistic. But what are the facts?
Yeah, so it's interesting that we're having this conversation at a time when medicine costs and overall spending on prescription drugs are growing at their slowest rate in years. You would know that from looking at the headlines day to day, but the facts are that because of competition and negotiation in the private marketplace, costs are down. And we're seeing a record number of new medicines coming to the marketplace, even though overall spending on medicines is held steady. And if you look at pandemics in particular, every single time we've had a pandemic, you've seen this industry step up, making big investments, bring new medicines and vaccines to the marketplace, and do so affordably. Even Dr. Anthony Fauci, who you see on the TV every single day, has said he's not aware of a time where we've been in a pandemic and people have not been able to access or afford new treatments or vaccines that have been available. You've seen our industry step up and make the investments, and I'm very confident we're going to do our part to make sure that those medicines are affordable and accessible for patients as well.
Yeah, and if Dr. Fauci doesn't remember it, it probably didn't happen because he's been in his current position for like 35 to 40 years. So institutionally, he should be able to remember these things.
Yeah, I think so.
So absolutely. Well, Robert, I really appreciate you sharing with us all this good news, because I think on the evening news, they're often just focusing on negativity and bad news, and I don't quite know why, because this is very encouraging. I hope our listeners take hope in many of the things that you've talked about. But how do we follow the work that you do, and get the other side sometimes, some of the good news?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would recommend is go to the coronavirus page on our organization's website. It's pharma.org/coronavirus, but it's phrma.org/coronavirus. You can go there and see every one of our member companies, what they're doing, the investments they're making in research and development, the donations they're giving to help communities around the world. Really encourage people to go look at that. People want to follow me directly at Rob Zirk on Twitter. I also spend my days trying to tell the story of what the pharmaceutical industry is doing every day, and a great place to find out what we're working on.
Fair enough. So you've abbreviated your last name just to Zirk?
Correct. Rob Zirk. I figured it's easier than Zirkelbach. Yes.
There you go. That works. That's nothing wrong with that. So, well, excellent. Thank you so much, Robert. This has been enlightening. It's been educational, and it was interesting as well. So I really appreciate that. But we are up against the break. So I want to thank you for spending time with us, sharing your expertise, and giving us a little hope, but hope based in fact and reality. And that's always useful. So with that, thanks so much. I do want to remind our listeners, we're the Conservative Commandos. We, of course, will be back after these messages. Don't go away.
Everybody wants cheap airfare. But where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show. Thanks to AUN TV Network, the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, and of course, Al Gore's amazing internet. We truly are everywhere. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader, my co-host today, and we are your Conservative Commando host, and this is the place to be. If you want to hear a rebroadcast of our show or view one, go to ccrshow.com. I'm really pleased to introduce our next guest. He is not only a guest on the show, but I would consider him a friend. And it's, you know, I have to be honest, it's great to have him on the show just because he's doing well. And that's good news to all of us. That's Dr. Gerard Lameiro. He is an author, he's a philosopher, an economist, and an engineer. A man of many skills and trades. He's also the author of 5 books. He's a popular television and talk radio guest. You probably see him on other shows as well. The reality is he's much sought after. But we're really glad to have him on because while he's an optimist based in fact. There are some people that just kind of blow, you know, sunshine and flower petals, you know, up your nose. And Dr. Lameiro, I think, sees the world accurately, but at the same time, he is an optimist. So I always like to listen to him because, particularly in times that are challenging, it's good to know if there's some good news around the bend. So I do also want to remind you that he's got a great book out you should read. It's called The Real World Socialism, in which he explains why socialism has failed everywhere and why it harms people and why free markets actually benefit the populace and even the little guy. But at any rate, you can get that on Amazon.com. But with that, Dr. Lameiro, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Yes, it's great to be back. Real World Socialism, my newest and sixth book, is just out, and it's been selling well.
I'm glad that I've read it. It's I think a very sound treatment of the costs of socialism. And interesting enough, I think that the people who can least afford socialism are the people who need opportunity the most. In other words, I think Bill Gates can afford socialism.
That's right. Well,
but, he'll be rich in either way.
I was going to say, the joke attributed to Ronald Reagan that socialism only works in two places: heaven, where you don't need it, and hell, where that's the system they use.
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably right. So, well, in the middle of this coronavirus or COVID-19 virus pandemic, we've got the economy shut down, basically. I mean, most people there's certainly some people working from home, but the reality is it's just not, the economy is kind of dead in the water right now. And yet a month ago, it was one of the strongest, most vibrant economies the world had ever seen. And so I guess the question is, can we bounce back quickly? When do you think it might start to happen? Or is this going to be a slow, arduous slog because of the, if you will, I don't know, maybe it's the fear or the uncertainty about the future? How do you see this, being someone who's a prognosticator using numbers to help you figure out what's likely around the bend?
Well, actually, some of it depends on the Democratic governors, because we've had some governors say, we're not going to have a light switch turn on. We're going to have a rolling turn on. Some people want to have this shutdown of the economy go till November for obvious reasons. Yeah. It might hurt Trump's reelection. Other people, I think, like the control. These people are closet socialists. The Democratic Party has become virtually a socialist party because that's what they advocate for, socialist policies. So if they have their way, and you're not allowed to buy paint, and you're not allowed to buy towels in Walmart in Michigan, for example, you can expect the economy to not bounce back quite as quickly. Now, I think there are going to be protests, and I think the Democrats and the Democratic governors, for example, in Michigan, will likely hurt themselves and will be voted out of office because some people are wanting to recall Governor Whitmer in Michigan. By the way, my understanding is she used to work for George Soros, so her behavior doesn't surprise me. Now, what's my overall thought? My overall thought is that we should not have shut down the economy. I think the numbers I'm looking at now, by the way, I have gathered numbers from all over the world on this virus and all over the United States. And there are a lot of issues with the numbers. They're not consistent. There's all sorts of problems, which makes our analysis more difficult. However, what I am finding is that there may not have been any reason for social distancing. It may have actually been counterproductive, because gaining some, if you will, herd immunity, which is the term, meaning that some people get exposed, is not a bad thing, because we now think up to 97% of all exposures get no symptoms or very mild symptoms, like they have a sniffle for a couple of days. They don't even know they've got it, and they've got immunity, and why are they staying home? Or why are they worried about it? Because they probably have already had it. And we think up to maybe even 1 in 7 people have had the disease in the United States already, in which case we have immunity. We shouldn't have shut it down. We did not shut it down for all the prior flu epidemics. We had you remember Ebola, you remember SARS, you remember swine flu, you remember the Hong Kong flu, H1N1, H3N2. We do not shut down, in this case, a $22 trillion economy over a sudden flu. I mean, what happens with COVID-20? We got COVID-19 and we're having to shut down the economy, and the Democrats now want to give every person in the United States from age 16 and up $2,000 a month. That's socialism. If the government pays everybody $2,000 a month, and by the way, they don't work. And how long does that go? How long can you borrow money?
I think that was Andrew Yang's plan, wasn't it?
Well, his was something like that, but this is some new folks in Congress, lesser known maybe by most Americans. I don't think their names would be well known to most Americans. But at any rate, here's the deal. I don't think we should have had the lockdown at all. We have the lockdown. We should remove it as soon as possible. Nothing about a rolling back to normal. It should be just, friends, we've gone past the peak. We certainly have gone past the peak. I predicted the peak would be about mid-April to mid-May. The peak occurred. My models went back quite a ways when I said that, and right on schedule. It peaked around middle of April, around Easter Sunday, and it's on its way down. The death rates are on the way down. The models turned out, I have a new name for them, fake models. And people who use fake models are the fake news for their purposes of stirring up fear, doubt, uncertainty, worry that's needless. People shouldn't worry about dying from the COVID virus unless they happen to be over 75 years old and over 75 pounds, because the latest data this week is that we now see a close tie-in between obesity and age and the COVID virus turning into a mortality. But you look at the data, the younger you get, the less the chance you'll get anything serious, the less the chance you'll have to be hospitalized, you'll need a ventilator, or you'll die. Okay, those numbers were projections that were wild.
Well, there was a point at which some people were saying we could have 2 million deaths in America.
Right.
2 million.
Right, well, they got rid of that estimate pretty quick.
Pretty quickly, but that was early on when they were, and I guess my point is there's this fear and loathing and this, sort of approach to things, and it looks like we may struggle to get to 60,000, which would put it more in the realm of a normal flu season.
Right.
And to get to 60, they're going to count a lot of people who they suspect had the disease, but they don't know that.
That's part of the data collection problem, that they have different definitions of what constitutes a COVID death and even what constitutes a COVID case. Some people who sniffle, they don't send them a test for a test. They just say, oh, they probably got it. And so they count it as a case when it may not be a case at all. Maybe somebody with a regular, ordinary, garden variety flu.
Yeah.
Like the flu that
or hay
in the
fever.
last 12 months killed 80,000 people.
Right.
Most flu killed 80,000 people. This one may not even do as much.
Exactly.
When all said and done, I project it'll probably only kill 50, and only, we don't want anyone to die, but numbers-wise, 55,000 people may seem like a lot of people, except that 8,000 people die every day in America anyway. People die of everything, like old age and traffic accidents and drug overdoses, and people are dying all the time. Fortunately, people are being born all the time as well.
Exactly.
And it sort of balances out. But I think Trump should announce that effective May 1st, the country is open from the federal point of view, and the governors need to follow suit quickly. Otherwise, they're going to have very unhappy citizens. And you know what? People now have a chance to test out socialism. All these dreamers who are pushing socialism, utopian dreams that never come true, they can say, we lived through socialism. It's terrible. We don't like it.
That's for sure.
Shells.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, Dr. Lameiro, we're up against the clock right now, but I'm glad you can stick around because there's more to talk about, and you always provide a great and interesting analysis of where we're headed and how things are looking. But I do want to remind our listeners, you're viewing and watching and listening to the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We'll be right back after these messages.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $1.99 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show carried on the Conservative Commandos radio network all across this great nation and the AUN TV network as well. If you don't happen to be near a broadcast tower, never fear, Al Gore has provided the way with that amazing internet. I hope you sense the sarcasm in what I just said there, because the transcript will not reveal it. They'll just think I'm stupid. But at any rate, I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader, my co-host today. We're your Conservative Commando hosts. You can always check out our website for more information, for rebroadcasts, ccrshow.com. We've been talking with Dr. Gerard Lameiro. He is a well-known author, philosopher, and economist, and an engineer. He's written a number of books. His sixth and most recent book's on socialism. I would recommend you get it. Real World Socialism. And, of course, the author, Dr. Gerard Lameiro. You can get that at Amazon. You can get that at retail book outlets. You name it, it's all there. But we've been talking with Dr. Lameiro about the response to the COVID virus, what the future may bear. So, one, thanks for sticking with the break, Dr. Lameiro. We're glad you could be with us today.
Well, it's great to be back with you, and my message for folks is to really look up. This was a bad episode in American history. It's going to be written about for years, and people are going to say, why did they get so excited about the COVID virus? It was just another flu, and we've had many of them, and between the years 2010 and 2019, every year we lose between 12,500 and 80,000 people on the regular garden variety flu of the year. And in the past 12 months, we've lost 80,000 people with regular flu. And the current flu, as far as we know, has dropped, but it may be because people dying from the current flu are being counted as COVID-19 victims, when in reality they aren't. But the way they count COVID viruses varies from state to state, and sometimes people die without a test. Right. And they say, well, they had some symptoms like it, so we're going to count it as COVID-19.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it was one of the doctors that speaks on this at the presidential, briefings, kind of signaled that they were going to count anything that had any kind of similarity to COVID as COVID, and it's like, I understand why people might have an incentive to do that, because when you start off predicting 2 million deaths, and then you ratchet that down, and then they ratchet down to 200,000, and then they ratchet down to 60, they need to get the numbers close so they don't look like fools.
Yeah,
but that's not based in fact, and it's not good public policy to inflate numbers so that your bad predictions don't look more rational and reasonable.
Right. I have my own COVID model because my field of study all my life, my degrees and my postdoctoral fellowship from National Science Foundation are all in modeling. So I do know what I'm talking about because I'm a model and I know the limitations and I know the problems with them. And you know, one of the things about the modeling going on and this type of modeling and the differential equations involved are you're dealing with exponential type functions. And so if you make a small mistake at the beginning, they grow. The mistakes grow out of proportion exponentially. And I think that's what we've had here. And I've even used the term fake models, because if you allow models to be exploited and that by the media for other purposes, it can turn into fake news if you take a model, don't use it properly, or maybe make a small mistake unconsciously, and then let it blow up and not correct it quickly. You've got fake models generating fake news, terrifying American citizens. And my message to America today is, don't be worried. We're going to get over this. We're going to get over it because it's not as bad as the left has made it out to be. I think there's quite a bit of evidence that social distancing doesn't even work in this case. Now we don't have time to go into a lot of detail, but there's some data that would indicate that it would be better to allow the average person to catch the disease, build up their own antibodies, because most people, we think up to 97% of folks are only going to get a mild case with no symptoms or very mild symptoms, like they have a little sniffle or a little cough. They don't call the doctor for something that minor. And you know what? They've just had the COVID virus. They're now immune to it. They're never going to get it. They're never going to spread it. The people who might get this disease and do poorly are if you're over 75 years old and you're over 75 pounds overweight. If you have obesity plus old age, it's a recipe for a worse version of COVID-19 virus. And in terms of the economy, I think we're going to bounce back quickly. I think the only thing that will hold us up is if some governors refuse to open up their states quickly enough. That's unfortunate, but I think they'll pay a price electorally. I think, for example, the various protests that have gone on, for example, in Michigan, an indication of the American people do not want their liberties removed. They want to be able to visit. I heard somebody say that we need to go into homes, and if there's one person sick, take that person out and bring them somewhere else to keep the rest of the family from getting sick. I don't think you burst into people's homes and take someone out against their will. And I think it should be perfectly fine to go visit your senior citizen. I know there's a little risk, but I don't think you separate families and isolate family members. I think, you know, somebody in a nursing home who's got comorbidity factors in that, maybe obese, don't go to a lot of rock concerts. Don't go to a lot of crowded places. Don't do Christmas shopping in the middle, you know, on Christmas Eve. They can do things to take reasonable precautions without shutting down the entire economy. So I think we're going to bounce back. I think after the Republican conservatives take the House, the Senate, and we have Donald Trump reelected president, which are going to happen in November. That's what all the models, my models, say right now. Then I think we're going to have a great year next year. Our economy will not only get back to where it was, it's going to go past it. And plus, we're going to have a great new industry in the United States, medical supply chains, because they're coming back from China. We're not going to allow them to supply 98% of our medical needs anymore, seeing as how their products are unreliable, a lot of problems with their products in terms of quality, and for the fact that their official state news agency threatened withholding drugs from the United States. To hold that over our heads means they're not a reliable trading partner, and we shouldn't have them as the basis for our medical industry.
Could not agree more. I think we have to expand. We certainly would not buy, for example, our early radar detection systems from China. We wouldn't buy our missile defense systems from China. Even if they were the low-cost provider, we would just say, no, we're not doing that. That's foolish. I think we've learned from this that we need to expand the list of national security items. And, I'll buy my flip-flops from wherever they come from, because I think if we had a flip-flop shortage, we'd all survive.
That's right.
But I think when it comes to things like medicines and we have to be careful that we understand the risks of getting too tangled around a totalitarian regime that has made it clear they want to harm us and will harm us if they get a chance.
Right. And by the way, my Real World Socialism book talks about China, talks about communist China, talks about the millions and millions of people who've been killed thanks to that socialist ideology in China. And so it is not a good ideology, and why should we put American lives at risk by being too close to a country you can't rely upon?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would argue it's worse than you can't rely upon them. I think you can rely upon them, and that is to try to harm us.
Well, that's true.
But at any rate, but you make some great points. I really appreciate the fact-based optimism. That's useful and helpful and a good reminder to our viewers and listeners. How can folks, get your book and follow the work that you do, your websites, whatever tools that you have for people to stay connected to Dr. Lameiro and what he's thinking and what he's analyzing and talking about?
Well, I do a blog post every week. It's at greatnewsforamerica.com. Greatnewsforamerica.com is also the name of one of my books a few years ago. I have now 6 books, and they can get all the books, print or Kindle version at Amazon, or they can order them through bookstores because, there are 4 million books in print, and most bookstores don't carry every last book. So you might not find me in every bookstore in the country, especially if they're liberal. But that's, my website, greatnewsforamerica.com, has over, I think, 200 web pages. And so it has an enormous database of information that have to do with things I've written over the years. You can read plenty of free articles and things like that. And there are a lot of special things, like I wrote 10 laws for winning presidential elections, which, believe it or not, people use to run for president. And that's there for free. You can take a look at that. But there's a lot of stuff there. And I hope you use it and enjoy it. And if you want to get a copy of my weekly blog, just hit the contact button and give me your name and address and say what you want, and we'll add you to the distribution list. Normally, we only send it to you if you're a VIP host or producer on a TV station or a radio station, but I'm happy to send it to, and do send it to, some listeners who are always trying to find the latest that I've written. So we'll add you to the list with great. a lot of well-known names.
That's great. That's great. So greatnewsforamerica.com.
Right.
Excellent. Well, we are up against the clock, so I just want to remind our viewers and our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We've been talking with Dr. Gerard Lameiro, a friend of the show, a friend of conservatives, and a friend of facts and information that's reliable. So thanks so much. And to our listeners and viewers, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, thanks to AUN TV Network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and of course, Al Gore's amazing internet. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We're your co-host today, and we truly are glad that you're here because, after all, if it was just Rick and I talking, then, wouldn't really be a show. So anyhow, but I do want to remind you, if you want to check out our website or get a rebroadcast, ccrshow.com is the place to go. And we have, and I'm very pleased to introduce our next guest. You probably recognize the face. This is a longtime friend of the show, in fact, a longtime host of the show, and we're really glad to have him back on. Rick Manning. He is, as I said, a Conservative Commandos alumnus. He is also the president of Americans for Limited Government. He served on President Trump's transition team, and he's the author of a book that I think you should read with Star Parker entitled Necessary Noise, How Donald Trump Inflames the Culture War and Why This is Good for America. So with that, Rick, it's always good to have you back at Conservative Commandos. Welcome.
Hey, glad to be on, George. And wait, nothing's happening, is there? So there's no big government, there's no overreach. We're the land of the free and the home of the brave, or was that the land of the caged and the home of the feared, afraid?
Yeah, I don't know. What could we possibly talk about?
Well, let's take something.
Yeah. let's jump in a little bit as to some of the problems we have now, because one of the things I've noticed being living in the D.C. metro area, I live in Virginia, you live in Maryland, but we both live in the greater D.C. metro area, is that you and I are not always well represented within that group. That sometimes I think if you get outside the Beltway and you get way out into real America, the views that you and I hold to be much more in line with the average citizen in that area. But around here, there doesn't seem to be any real need to get back to work. There's no real, what do you think is going on with that? Why would D.C. be so different?
Well, D.C. is different because it's a government town, and everybody knows somebody in the government. And because of that, the one thing that's true is government employees are going to get paid. They're getting paid, and they're getting paid a lot. They're getting paid their regular salaries. Yeah. So whereas we currently have about 20 to 22 million people unemployed in the country, and that's based on the last three unemployment insurance claims numbers plus the 5.8 million that were unemployed to start with. So we're looking at about 20% or 20 million people unemployed, which was about 15% unemployment. So that's where we're at right now. And in the federal government, not one single person's been laid off. In the state government, not one single person's been laid off. At the local governments, not one single person's been laid off. So all those people getting up on TV and saying, oh, we should all stay locked in our homes and wear masks, and oh, we're not even sure we should go to the grocery store except for on days we decided you should go. All those people are making those decisions all have safe jobs. They don't care that 20% of the American, 15 to 20% of the American private sector employees are unemployed. So that's the reason why here in D.C., where we have a disproportionate number of government employees, there isn't as much concern about the fate of the private sector because they fail to realize that the private sector is who pays their salaries.
Yeah, you make a very good point. So that would suggest that like Chuck Schumer's constituency, Nancy Pelosi's constituencies, that they're not really clamoring and saying, come on, get us back to work. That that's why they're arguing over all kinds of crazy stuff like, having mail-in ballots and things like that, because they don't actually have to fight for anything because their constituency's fine. They're getting full salary, they're getting paid. Sure, the national debt's going up, but that's only they don't have any bigger share of that than anyone else does, and they're the primary beneficiaries of all that spending.
Well, if they can collapse capitalism over this and the free enterprise system by ending private sector businesses, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, if they can successfully collapse the private sector, then they get what they want, which is more government power. So ultimately, the left wants more government power. You can call it socialism, you can call it whatever you want, but that is their constant drumbeat and refrain. They have absolutely no incentive from a philosophical perspective or from a constituency perspective to try to get America back to work and to get America back to functioning with a 3.5% unemployment rate and record numbers of people employed in our country. That isn't in their interest. They want to beat Donald Trump, and they know the economy of a month and a half ago elected him, and they think the economy of today may just defeat him. So they're happy with that. And, oh, by the way, and most importantly, they really, really, really don't care about the economic hostage. They are willing to shoot the private sector hostage to get goodies for their friends. Yeah. And the Republicans know that. And as a result, and Nancy Pelosi has proven it by slowing down rescue packages twice for goodies for her buddies. So we know the game. They're willing to shoot the hostage. In this case, the hostage is Uncle Sam.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good analogy. If the person holding you hostage doesn't care about you and would like to see you dead anyhow, your chances of survival aren't very good. And that's the game they're playing right now. One of the things that I find kind of interesting about this problem is that they are. It doesn't seem like they're dealing in really what I would call in good faith. Meaning, sure, they may have a little different perspective on, like I said, instead of extending unemployment benefits, because unemployment benefits just mean that people will stay home from work until their benefits go away, which gets people away from work for 6 months or 5 months or however long the benefits run. Instead, give them pay through their employer. Through, the government's, in other words, change the way it's done so that the employer can have them do some work from home if possible. the employer, if there's nothing they can do from home, the employer can pay them through the if you will, the unemployment grants to the employer. But it keeps them connected to the employer, and it also would require when the employer needs them back, they'd have to come back to receive that. And then all of a sudden you get America back to work, as opposed to getting America catching up on all the TV shows they, have on their wish list. And but they just seem to have a very different set of priorities, and it's not about, like you said, they're very interested in seeing the world in which universal income is required, because nobody else has a job. And at some point, Americans would agree to a universal income if they believe their employment opportunities are so bleak that they're not going to get one. But in a world with essentially no unemployment, where there's more jobs than there are people applying for them, who needs a universal income? What was Andrew Yang was like $10,000-$12,000 a year.
Right.
You can earn like twice that at minimum wage.
Well, and here's the thing with universal income. It's designed to create government dependency. You don't vote for less government. Anytime you give people an ability to vote themselves a raise, they're going to vote themselves a raise. I mean, heck, Nancy Pelosi got a raise for Congress of 25%. Using the crisis of this whole coronavirus thing. So because
they're doing such a great job.
Yeah, they are the bang up job. But let's talk about turning the tables a little bit, George, because the fact of the matter is, in order to be able to get through this, we have to create an environment where both sides has an interest in doing so. And right now, they've created an unemployment system where anybody who makes less than $12 an hour makes more on unemployment. So if you're sitting there and you work at the 7-Eleven and you're shut down, you work at a restaurant as a busboy, you don't make that much money, you're better off sitting on unemployment than coming back to work even when the restaurant's open. And they've done that intentionally because they're trying to enforce through the rules to attract the employees. They're trying to force $15 an hour based upon the unemployment system. And it's a tricky thing that Nancy Pelosi did. And quite honestly, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin did a terrible job negotiating on it. But having said that, the way to turn the tables is by saying if there's a 20%, a 15% unemployment rate on the private sector, then 15% of the public employees get laid off. And they should be laid off too. The federal government, if they're not bringing any revenues, the state governments aren't bringing in revenues, if the local governments aren't bringing in revenues because they've shut down the government, at that point, the very people who are recommending that the government shut down should have some skin in the game. And the skin is their fellow public employees being laid off.
That's an interesting point, Rick. It's a shame that some political actors won't do the right thing unless they feel that they're getting something in return. This would be one way, at least it seems to me, to help them see that there's something in it for them to get the country back on its economic feet. So, Rick, tell us, how do you think this might work? Rick? It appears we've lost Rick. Well, we're up against the break anyhow, so I'll just remind you that you're listening to the Conservative Commandos and watching us. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader, and we will try to get Rick Manning back on the Conservative Commandos line for us. But in the meantime, we're going to take a break for some messages, and just remind you, check out our website, ccrshow.com.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline Refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline Refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show, of course, and the television show. Thanks to AUN TV Network, the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We truly are everywhere. And if you don't happen to be close to one of the many broadcast towers that carries the Conservative Commandos signal, never fear. Al Gore's amazing internet is always there. So, anyhow, I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. You may have noticed that we don't have Rick Manning back, and I guess it's one of those things where there's too many people on Zoom or Skype or whatever, but we lost Rick and can't get him back on. We were having a great conversation, and so, but if you missed that and you want to catch it, you should, because Rick was making some great points. But rebroadcast of our show, you can find that at ccrshow.com. But I don't know, Rick, maybe you and I can continue this conversation. His point really was that Nancy Pelosi doesn't, the president's fighting for Americans to make sure that they can keep their jobs, keep their homes and houses and get back on their feet. And it doesn't seem like that's very important to Nancy. Every time this comes up, she's willing to delay it. And she's willing to delay it to promote stupid ideas that benefit, like some friends of hers somewhere, but nobody that's actually a regular American. And so the question is, how can you force her hand? And his point was, well, her political allies mostly work for the government. So maybe if you force unemployment a little higher in the unemployment in the government sector, all of a sudden she'd care. Yeah, that was an interesting idea. I'm not for throwing anyone out of a job. I'm not. That's not my point. But I do think he makes a good point, which is she's willing to hold the American public hostage.
Well, George,
so maybe someone has to hold her constituency hostage. Just so that there's
a lot of her base don't care, George, because they are not working.
That's a good point too.
They are not working. They are on
these are the free. This is the free crowd.
Some sort of a social program.
Yeah.
The other part of her base, as you and Rick were talking about, were government employees who have a job, who have job security, who have a steady paycheck. And by the way, George, should those people also get this $1,200 stimulus? I'm not so sure about that. But they really don't care about getting America back to work. They really care about, the old thing, never let a crisis go to waste. Yeah. Let's jam this down the throats of the American people. But do you think the American people are buying it, George, or do you think they actually see Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Jerry Nadler for what they really are by now?
I think that all but kind of the dullest of individuals. Obviously, there are some people, and you see them on Facebook, they're so committed to the lefto-wacko agenda that they just kind of, they're convinced that, they like this crazy story about Donald Trump and the malaria Medicare. Oh, see, he has a financial interest. It turns out if he has a financial interest, it's probably enough to take you and me to lunch. Apparently, meaning it's less than $100 in terms of stock value, and it's just, and it turns out the company that they say he could be benefiting is actually giving the medicine away. So I'm trying to figure out. So you own stock in a company that might be about $100 worth, okay, and you're a billionaire, so $100 to you isn't that big a deal anyhow. And then on top of that, the company isn't actually profiting; they're losing money because they're giving it away. And this is just showing you how corrupt the man is. And I've seen people who kind of, and the same people who say, oh, well, in Charlottesville, he said there's good people, those white supremacists who kill people, there's good people on both sides. Oh, that's outrageous. And it's just like, he didn't say that. But if you want to hate him so much that you'll believe any fool thing you're told. And so my point, I guess, is I think there's wacko lunatics out there who don't care what reality is. And so those people are not going to be dissuaded from supporting someone like Nancy Pelosi. But I think that's a small group of people. I don't think that's a big group. Most Americans aren't completely idiotic. Most Americans can say, well, yeah, I used to vote Democratic, but this is getting a little nutty. These people don't seem to be on our side. They're using the talking points of the Chinese. I wish the guy I vote for, I want him to feel like he's proud to be an American. And so I think that you will see in Congress and in the presidential election a pretty big rejection of all of this because it's a little too much. It's one thing to say, it's like, think back to the day, like, someone like Bill Clinton, who I did not like as president. I was totally appalled. But I look back on him now and realize he wasn't actually horrible. I think he was not a, I can't endorse his moral code. But my point is, he wasn't trying to socialize, the entire economy. He didn't, it was a different brand of liberalism then. They weren't completely insane. And I think so. I think that, like, I remember my grandfather telling me that years earlier, he'd been a Harry Truman supporter and, kind of a, in that sense, a Democrat, but a conservative one. And in the 60s, he said, the party left me, man. I realized I was a Republican. And he said, I didn't really change my views. I just realized that this was crazy. I think you're going to have a whole new generation of people like that who are going to say, I think this week I remember reading that there's a elected state house member in South Carolina who's an African American. And he's come out and endorsed Donald Trump for the presidency and renounced his own party. I think you're going to see a whole new crop of that because it's too much insanity. How much insanity can one person take? And I think we're well past that for most people.
Well, we saw that back in the winter. We actually saw a sitting member of Congress, Jeff Van Drew, switch parties. For much the same reason. He says that this has gone too far. And this was during the impeachment phase of this. He did not like what the party was doing. And there are other examples of I didn't leave the party left me. I think Ronald Reagan is very famous for saying that. John Wayne said the very same thing. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think there will be other people in the Democrat Party, and maybe they won't say as much so that they're no longer a Democrat, but they probably will not vote that way. A lot of them, when they get in the privacy of the election booth, will not pull that D lever. But this idea, George, well, maybe if we furlough some government workers to make Nancy howl, well, number one, I like that. Number two, I think there are already too many government workers, and we could do it with about 25% less of them. I mean, I don't think that would be a terrible loss. After all, whenever we have one of these government shutdowns, all the non-essential government workers, I say, let's get rid of all that non-essential government workers we can.
Let me ask you, when you were running a small business, how many non-essential employees did you keep on the payroll?
Well, I didn't even have very many. I had no non-essential employees. I didn't have very many essential employees.
Fair enough. It was small business. That was included in the question. But my point is, in real life, people who actually are serious about being profitable and successful don't have non-essential employees.
Right. You don't. And, well, the size of government is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I would love to see President Trump maybe in his next term of office looking at the size of the debt, saying, hey, we got to get serious about it. Now, let's not tax the American people. Let's cut government spending. In fact, let's cut government. Let's set a goal to reduce the size of the government by 25%, if we have to, through attrition.
Yeah.
And don't ask, and let's get back to the days of John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And let's say, don't ask government to do more with less, but actually do less with less. I think we would all be better off, George, with that philosophy.
I would totally agree.
Less with less.
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things, too, is if we get the economy rolling back the way it was just a month or two ago, where you have more job openings than you have people applying for them, you could have attrition for government, and you wouldn't have to have all the sob stories, because people could literally leave the government. You can give them a warning about, you have this much time to find your next job. They'd be able to find it, and they wouldn't even, wouldn't even miss a paycheck, because the economy would be so rolling. They just grab a new job somewhere else, and then that would benefit us, because they'd be doing something that private industry thought was important enough to pay them for, and the public payroll wouldn't have to.
Right. Well, George, believe it or not, that's we got to take a little break. We're at the end of this segment. Again, time flies here on Conservative Commandos, and that's who you're listening to and watching, the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. George and I will be back with more right after this break.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Well, George, that just about wraps it up for today's show. As always, I really appreciate you sitting in as my co-host. And George, how can people keep track of you and what you do at Frontiers of Freedom when you're not here on Conservative Commandos?
Well, short of hiring a private detective, they could probably just go to our website, ff.org, 2 F's and then .org, or you can follow me on Twitter at glandrith, Landrith, Glandrith. But, you know, I have to say we had some great guests, and I really appreciated sharing some time with Robert Zirkelbach from the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. It really is amazing to think of all the things that they're doing and how they've put aside the need for profit right now, quite frankly, to make sure we have a solution. It's something you'd expect somebody who is human to do, and they do that because guess what? They are, even though the media won't tell you that. And then obviously one of our favorites, yours and mine both, Dr. Gerard Lameiro. Always interesting to talk with him about almost any topic. I can't imagine something that wouldn't be interesting, but his take on some of these economic issues, his analysis is always great. So and
very optimistic.
Yeah, he is an optimist, and I like that. He is. And then, of course, concluding with Rick Manning, even though we had some challenging technical issues there where we lost him partway through, we got a good enough part of his interview to get a sense for some of his point. But always like having Rick on. Americans for Limited Government's a great group, and Rick's a good guy.
All right. And again, thank you so much, George. But for right now, we're out of time, and we got to run because we got to go. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on